Good morning, everybody. And on behalf of Killarney Chamber of Tourism and Commerce, welcome to our fifth in a series of webinars designed to try and help you deal with the current crisis. Today's webinar is an e-commerce workshop suitable for all business models. Our presenter today is Vinny O'Brien, and thanks for joining us today, Vinny. Vinny is one of Ireland's best-known e-commerce consultants. He has nearly 15 years experience in the industry, having worked with some household names such as eBay, Arnott's, and successful Irish startup mixgarage.com. As usual, please feel free to use the question box throughout the presentation, and my colleague Niall will facilitate a Q&A at the end of Vinny's presentation. Today's presentation will be recorded and will be available later to download on the Chamber's website, killarney.ie/resources. So now, to learn something about e-commerce, I will pass you over to Vinny.
Thank you very much, Paul, and good morning to everyone. I'm just going to share my screen with you now with some slides. If at any point you've got a question, as Paul has indicated, pop them in the box or put your hand up. Happy to answer anything. I'm going to let the slides kind of guide me, but if you feel that there's a topic you want me to stop on, please feel free to stop me at any point. Just going to minimize this 1 sec. So I'm Vinny O'Brien. I'm living over in Tralee for my sins. My wife and I moved down here about 2 years ago. As Paul mentioned, I am a consultant with 15 years experience now at this stage. I started out in e-commerce in eBay 15 years ago, and the reason that's important, it's not to name drop eBay, it's more to give context to my approach to e-commerce. I don't think all bits of it are for everybody, but certainly what I would like is that if you take something away from today that maybe gets you thinking, can you do something different? Is there something that you want to try? Or is there something that you've thought about for some time and want to bounce it off me? In terms of the categories I've worked in pretty much all of them. So I've worked with fashion, I've worked with white goods, I've worked with B2B companies. I spent a lot of time in automotive, and more recently I've worked with a lot of food companies. So I've done quite a bit of work with Bloss na HÉireann and some great brands down around here too. Over the last 18 months, I suppose I've contributed to completing the e-consultancy guide to best practice guide to e-commerce. As you can see on the slide here, it's a 54,000 word guide to e-commerce best practice across Europe. And that was published in eConsultancy magazine in November 2019 in London. And I suppose the reason I got an opportunity to do that was I worked with the writer of the guide, but also I try to be practical when it comes to e-commerce. So I'm not a techie. I'm not here to tell you how to code. And I've put together what I believe is a useful framework, having worked with companies independently now for about 4 years. One of the additional good points about coming to Tralee, I'll just go back the slide. I've been mentoring for Enterprise Ireland for about 4 years also, and I'm on their panel for consultants. But I started working with a startup, mentoring them here 4 years ago called Crua Outdoors, and we sell thermally insulated tents in the US. So I kind of came on board with them when they got their trading online voucher 3 years ago, so that €2,500 voucher. And from that, we've now built a website that's trading into the millions. We've trebled the size of the business each of the last 3 years. And I suppose from a relevancy point of view, what that does as a consultant, make sure that I'm not just talking about this stuff that I think you should do. I'm on the job learning and getting things wrong all of the time. So you're going to get the benefit of the things we've got wrong. And I'm going to use it as kind of a guide in terms of some of the stories that I'll share with you as part of this to give some context to what we're doing. I don't know all the companies who are listening, and I will try to broaden my thoughts as I go through the slides, just so we cover off things like B2B, B2C, maybe you're a service-based company, and you'll have a different set of needs fundamentally. But I'm a big believer in getting the basics right. If you do that, you kind of build a good foundation, and that's what we discovered when I started working with Derek and Crua. We've kind of put in a good solid base using Shopify as a platform, and I'll talk a little bit about that as we go through the slides and what that's meant for us. But it's kind of part of your own decision-making process. I'll hopefully go through some of that with you. So I just want to put into context where we are right now. So with everything going on, it's obviously changed quite a lot for people over the last little while, and the kind of shock to the system, I think, is now gone, and it's trying to adapt a mindset for where we go next. These are just some stats that were coming out in late March. I'm just going to jump off the slides and actually go to a live site here just to share um, some up-to-date stats as well. So I get a lot of reports from different companies just given the position that I'm in, and they share pretty good data with me. But this is just a look at the overall sector in Ireland. So this purple line here shows you the different growth rates that we've experienced in terms of revenue since the beginning of January. So you'd expect that kind of shape here, but this was the kind of the lockdown, the phased approach that we've seen. So it's kind of gone up here, but it's coming back down to levels that are a little bit more like coming out at the end of January. And I've just
Vinny, we appear to have lost you there for a second.
He's offline.
Was he?
Yeah.
Sorry, folks, we seem to have lost Vinny, so we're just trying to get reconnected with him. We'll be with you as soon as.
Sorry, folks, we appear to have just lost Vinny's session there for the moment. Just please bear with us while we try to reconnect. Thank you.
Everybody, apologies for that. Can you hear me again? Paul, maybe you give me the thumbs up.
Yes, Vinny, we can.
Apologies, folks. My computer decided to reboot itself. So I'm going to jump straight back in. I think I know where I lost you just based on the text that I received. Hopefully this will continue. So look, I'll try to speed up a little bit as well, just so that we get through the material. I think that would be quite useful. So to go back a slide is where I was talking about the shopper profile. And these are kind of the key takeaways from that, and I'm going to demonstrate them through the rest of the presentation, hopefully, that experience matters. So from your first experience with the website right through to picking up a box or handling a customer service issue, all of that really matters. You have to figure out your brand purpose, but not necessarily what you think is important, but what your customers think of you. And I'll bring you through what we did at Crua, just to try and give context to that. Ubiquitous shopping just means that if you have a catalog of products, you want to be available where your customers are looking for you, and not necessarily isolating yourself to just your website. And then the importance of perfection. It's getting the basics right and doing them really well will stand to you in the long term. So we have different types of business model for e-commerce. We have the direct model, which is what we operate in Crua, which is we sell direct to a customer and they buy from us. This is kind of a third-party retail model, the second one, so AO.com or ASOS. Arnott's to some degree is that where you've got different businesses trading under one retailer. Then we have marketplaces, so eBay was kind of a good example of a marketplace. Amazon is one as well. And Amazon is kind of different because you can sell to Amazon through them, and you can also use Amazon as a fulfillment network as well. And then there's vertical marketplaces that are starting to come out. So we see things like Just Eat and List and all these other great places that we can get to. So there's lots of places that you can play in terms of e-commerce. But what I would say is you want to try and set yourself up so that you can do all of these from one start point. And that's really the base for how I look through e-commerce. So what effectively we've developed over the last probably 3 years, we've really polished this up. It's the 9 P's of e-commerce. So we look at platform, project, partner, payments, performance, profile and personas, products, proposition, and people. And these are not independent of each other. I think that's the really important part to try and get your head around. And that's what I'm going to try and talk through right now. So the platform that you choose will ultimately determine maybe the payment options you can put in place. It might mean that you're limited in terms of partners. It might mean that it opens partners up to you. The profile of customer that you want may determine that they want to buy from you on Instagram or Facebook, and you want to be able to measure the performance easily. So all of these kind of things are interconnected and should, where possible, sit in one place. So you as a business owner don't have to open up 10 different things at once to get one piece of information. And possibly the most key part of all of this is people. So designing a strategy that's geared towards the skill set that you have available to you is a really critical component in all this. So to give it an example of something real, in Crua, we didn't have development expertise, and we weren't planning on hiring because it's too expensive to try and hire someone with that skill set in Tralee. So Shopify for us became the platform that we chose because it allowed us to have a ready-made, out-of-the-box experience where we could buy a template, so we didn't have to be designers. We were able to choose one of their templates and install it onto a system. We didn't have to do hosting. We didn't have to put together a security package. So there was a multitude of reasons that it made sense, but ultimately it was because the team that we had assembled wasn't right fit for something more complex. And that's really important. So if you're currently trying to make a decision on what one you should go with, the people element of it's going to be a really important part. And then once you've built, it's kind of the 4 C's element is what we've talked about, but the trading of your website is really what we're all interested in. So measuring your customer journeys and managing them, determining what channels you want to be in. Are you going to be a multi-channel retailer, or are you going to be single channel? Acquiring your customer and retaining them, really, really important step is recognizing that your customer will be with you for hopefully more than one purchase, and you've got to incentivize them to do that. And I'll give you a quick example of what that looks like. And then it's conversion rate optimization. So to give you some sort of benchmark, the average conversion rate, so from an Irish perspective and overall retail, is about 2.9%. So in real terms, every 100 visitors to your website, you can expect on average in a month that for every 100, 3 will convert. And that's a difficult starting point for some people, because you try to figure out, well, how do I make this worthwhile? And I suppose it's about incremental steps and incremental changes. And that's why conversion rate optimization is really important. So effectively, it just means that you're merchandising your shop well, that you're putting offers in the right places, that you're incentivizing people to come back, and really that you understand the customer, so that you don't have to work really hard all the time to get them back in or get new customers all the time. It's that you're trying to make the customers you have happy. And you can do that through simple things like a good email campaign. Or, as I said, that you may be in the product development space. So I've worked with skincare companies, and one of the things their customers love is being involved in the development of new products. But just to go back to this acquisition side of things, there's a lot of numbers out there, and I kind of talked about the conversion rate of about 3%, but you will always have a cost to acquire a customer, and that's a typical e-commerce cost and a very good benchmark. But a better one is the customer lifetime value to your business. So most of you will have regulars who come in, and on average they might shop from you once a week, or maybe it's once a day, but you will have kind of a sense of what they're worth to you from a monetary perspective. In Mixed Garage, we sold car parts and we sold accessories. So we sold things like roof boxes and roof racks and so on. We did a survey of 3 years worth of customers and all of their data. And what we discovered was that people who bought a roof box from us or a roof rack didn't actually know that we sold parts. So they didn't know that we sold brake pads or oil filters or anything like that. And that was because they just came in through an ad. So that experience, you go to Google, you look for something, you see a sponsored ad, you click on it, and you buy that product. And that's kind of like a direct experience. What it told us was we didn't do a good enough job in the follow-up. So once that person had purchased from us, we should be exposing the company and the catalog to them. And that's called a welcome series of emails. We also didn't really understand the need of that customer or why they'd shop from us. Purely, it was a pricing exercise. When we were kind of putting together our marketing, we always gave a lot of money to that side of the business, and we were always happy to pay a premium for that customer. When we did that same piece of analysis with people who bought oil filters and service kits and that kind of stuff for a car, we always had maybe a less appreciation for the value of that customer, because the average order value was going to be somewhere around the 40 to 50 euro mark, whereas a roof box could be over 200. So the kind of simple maths that you would do, you might say something like, well, to get that $200 sale or 200 euro sale, I might be happy to spend 40 euro to get that customer. On the other side, we probably would be nervous to spend 8 euro to get the 40 euro sale because we felt it was too high. But what we didn't appreciate was that 40 euro sale resulted in 3 more sales over a 12-month period. So in fact, that customer for 8 euro was spending upwards of 150. So it just changed the balance of what we did. So over time, as you're measuring the different success factors for your business, that's something that's really important to try and get your head around it. And it goes back to that experience point that I mentioned earlier on. So giving the customer a reason to come back to you is really fundamentally important. And that's what good websites and good e-commerce businesses, or just businesses, will do in general. So the e-commerce map, as I look at it, and sorry, this is a bit of a messy diagram, but it just gives you a sense that the platform that you choose gives you the ability to do all these things from one simple place. So regardless of whether it's Magento or Shopify or BigCommerce or WooCommerce, they will give you different options and I suppose a different time frame to get to them as well. To give an example, I'm working with a Magento client today, and before I jumped on the webinar, they're trying to take a very complicated catalog and move it to a new Magento store. The kind of configuration of that catalog requires about 6 weeks worth of kind of teasing out and figuring out how we move from one to the other, and do we have all the right information in there. We can't easily get it to a CRM system. We can't easily get it to an accounts package, for example. And every time we do that, we have to go to our outsourced partner who does the development, and that always has a cost. So when I compare that to Shopify, so we sell our crew of tents through our Shopify platform. It has a connection to Facebook. It has a connection to Amazon. It has a connection to eBay that literally take about 30 seconds to install. They give you a few settings that you decide, these are the business rules that I want to apply to it. And it does all the technical heavy lifting for you. And even if you get it wrong, it's a simple case of turning it off and resetting it if you feel that there's a problem with it. So from a user experience, these two platforms, Shopify and BigCommerce, are two that people are paying a lot of attention to right now. Shopify can give you everything like email. You can get stock images from them. So if you don't have a budget to go and get great content, you can get it all here. And the main difference between these two, if we're looking at them, BigCommerce is more geared towards B2B companies, and Shopify is really geared towards retail. So they have a point of sale system, for example. Both of these start with a plan that starts at $29 a month. You also have to pay about 2.9% gross on a monthly basis of your sales, and you pay a transaction fee of about 30 cents. So all in all, these are quite affordable. So you can go today and start building your store on there. The templates that I mentioned, and there are templates available for all four here. And these are just four of many platforms, but they're the four probably most common right now. You can get templates from these from free, so that means the look and feel can be determined for you. Down to about $200, you can get something custom built. And I'm going to show you a couple of product pages just to show you why I think templates are an okay way to go, even if you want to put in some personalization yourself. But this gives you a good sense of what you need a platform to do. You need it to sweat itself a lot, particularly if you're a small business, 1 to 5 person, 5 to 10. This is the thing that you really want to make work hard for you and for your business as well. Just as we're going through, is there any questions for us right now? No hands are raised, I don't think. Nothing flashing. Okay, great. I hope I'm still here as well. And when you have your platform built, it's about trying to get customers in. So the marketing in e-commerce is really important as well. It's possibly as important as selecting the right platform. And the way to start thinking about it is this program that we call Racer. And it's broken down into reach, acquiring, converting, engaging, and retaining. And this simple table shows you what the brand need is, where in terms of the sales funnel that we see the activity that you need to take on. And then it's to start looking at the tools that you need to shift this needle along somewhere. So in terms of a planning framework for you, this is a really useful tool for you to reference. And let's just kind of break it down a little bit right now. The reach side of things is where you're trying to get people to know your business exists. So for us, if I look at Crua, we use a crowdfunding platform. So we actually use big audiences in Facebook to go and let people know we exist. We show them our products, we show them people using our products, and that's really about letting them know we exist. We target them quite rigorously, and we use paid media to do that. In terms of positioning, this is kind of interesting, and I'm just going to show you our site for a second, just to give you a sense. So here's our site. It's a templated site. I hope I haven't left anyone yet, or I'm still in the meeting. We make pretty heavy duty tents in terms of what they're like in the industry. When I first joined the business, we were of the opinion that these were the sort of tents that the middle American Republican voting, not that there's anything wrong with that, the Republican voting hunter-gatherer types in the US would be using our tents. And that was kind of a misconception for us, and that was how we messaged everything, and the way we took our photos and all those kind of things were very different for us. But what it also meant was our advertising spend was not efficient because we're targeting the wrong people. And for a small company, if we were spending €1,000 a month or €100 a month, the efficiency of that spend was really important. So the reason, or the way that we figured that out, was we surveyed our customers. And we surveyed them over about a 3-month period to figure out little things like, did they have a family? How frequently do they go camping? Where do they work? And what we learned was we actually had a younger demographic. You can see here now that the photos are slightly different to the hunter-gatherer type. We found out that we people who like adventure, who worked in offices in cities, and they more often than not like to spend time in the wild or in the outdoors, but wanted comfort as a part of it. And for our products, we've a very specific internal insulation layer on the tent that we want to get across to people. So even see the language here, like TLC, the world's toughest tents, families and friends, all this type of language was chosen specifically because we went back and revisited the positioning that we had relative to our customers. And we continue to do that every year. And where that actually takes effect, we've got a good handle on it right now. So during the lockdown, our revenues have increased, thankfully. But our marketing spend is reduced by about 42% if we take out any impact from money we've taken out of doing paid advertising during this time. And that's largely because we've positioned ourselves better, we've targeted more effectively, and we segment those customers into just little buckets. Now we test things all the time. We also tested our website to see what was working or what was not. And I just jump back in and show you this. We had a very customized website up to the end of last year. And really what we were finding was we weren't getting to a conversion rate that we wanted, no matter what we did. So we went back and revised, could we do better with a template? So we went and purchased a template for $40. We've added our own look and feel and some other elements to it and some behavioral things. But what we now have is a conversion rate that's double what it was at the beginning of the year, and it's performing a lot better for us. So the really kind of the key thing that I point people to with a template is this shopping basket is up on the right hand side because 99% of the people who use this template go to that position. So I'd never put it on the left hand side, for example. And what I sometimes find is when we get down to the stage of trying to build out a strategy, we think in terms of design and the crazy or the wonderful or creative things we like to do. Sometimes it's just best giving the customer what they're familiar with, unless you're a huge brand where you can afford to take the impact of making a significant change when it comes to website design. But from an ease of use point of view, you could buy that this morning on a new platform or a template like that, and you could install it in a matter of hours and you would be up and trading. You have your shopping cart connected and you're good to go. So it can be quite quick, and templates can help in that. In the acquisition phase, that's really where we're going to have to buy customers and say, okay, you want a tent, and we can see through the activity in Google that you're willing to buy one and spend X amount. This is that phase. Convert is really about what happens on the site, how we retarget them, how we do that old Big Brother thing where you've searched for a tent, and then we'll show you an ad a week later, and you'll see our tent out there. And that's really where we're trying to convince you buy our tent because ours is the best, and don't leave our website. We have a very technical product, so we see a lot of people returning to our site multiple times. A very typical thing for us would be to see a purchase coming through where a customer has visited the site 12 times over 20 days. And that's another good measure for us. So we don't panic if we don't get a sale within that first period of advertising going out. And then this is kind of the important part for me, where we're really, really focused right now because we're a small brand. We have to do really well in this space. We need to engage people. We need to retain them. And generally the way we're engaging is by adding new products to the mix. So every few months people know that we add a new hammock or we brought out a new sleeping bag. And we put a lot of that through social, and we use things like augmented reality and various other elements on the site. But when you think about that in the context of your own business, someone has just purchased from you, what is a way you'd like to get them back? And I generally reference at this stage, there's a food company in Tala called Wildson, that's spelled WYLDSSON. They make trail mixes and porridge and things like that. And when I first purchased from them, they sent me out a little note that said, look, here's 20% off your next order, and also we recommend a subscription box. So I went back on to the website straight away. I decided I'd order one of these. And when the box came out to me, the next time, they actually had this personalized box for me with the picker's name on the inside of it, and they'd signed it. And every month when that box arrived, I still got that feeling of connection to the brand because all these little personal touches were in there. So when it came to the monthly spend, I think it was €25, which is not huge money, but it's still a consideration. I rarely thought about canceling my subscription or anything like it, because I love getting the product. I love that feeling of unboxing, and I felt connected to the brand, even though they weren't doing too much. They'd already done all the work kind of up in this phase up here, and in the customer experience once I'd received my parcel. So retention is a really important part of marketing, and it's that post-sale period. So having a good plan for that in place is something that I would highly recommend for people as well. In here, there's a series of questions, and this is something that I won't go through now because I've lost some time. But they're the sort of questions that I would ask if I was going into a business today to go to Shopify or Magento or WooCommerce or something like that. You look at ease of integration with our tech systems, something that aligns with the size and scale of the business. How easy would it be for us to scale up if needed? Like if you're a food company or a grocery store in the last 3 months, were you able to get to the level that you needed to respond to customer needs? And these are all really good questions that you can sit down and start going through yourself and determining, is there a platform that works well for you? And I've just kind of tried to encapsulate this in a couple of quotes from Richard Chappell, who is the founding CMO, the chief marketing officer of a company called Gymshark, who 6 years ago didn't exist, and this year they'll break the $300 million mark in terms of revenues going through the business. They sell athletic clothing, so gym gear, and they're really super focused on that. And the format that he put down as a marketing officer was get the product and price right, get the brilliant basics right, get delivery and fulfillment spot on, maintain stock management levels at a really close to a really close point, gather customer ratings and reviews and Trustpilot scores. And we sometimes underestimate that there's great value in word of mouth, and this is something that we all know, and I know as a business community in Killarney that word of mouth marketing is very important, and you all use Trustpilot quite well, but sometimes we forget about it on a product level, and we can also use it to tell us something about the business as opposed to just the comments. And when I was at eBay, they actually have a scoring system to allow you to measure the kind of defect rate in your business, and that's not a bad thing. And it's the same on Amazon, and they measure you on your communication, they measure you on the time taken to get a product, the cost of it, etc. So it gives you impartial, objective reviews, and for the most part, to tell you something about the business, and it's really good. Like, let's say you brought in someone new into your customer service team, and all of a sudden the communication metrics started going in the wrong direction. Maybe there's a training need there, or something that has not been given to your new team member in terms of information, and it's just not coming through. So it gives you a chance to address a problem at the root of the problem as well. So I think from that perspective, Trustpilot scores and reviews and stuff like that are really important to the overall health of the business. Visual imagery is really important right now. I think we're all very much aware of that. We carry our phones around with us, and then making sure that we talk about it on social media. And that's a really important point. In the last 3 days, Facebook has just announced that they will be converting anyone with existing products on there into a full-on shop where you'll have the option to. So in effect, you'll be able to buy, your customers will be able to buy from you through Facebook, make the payment through Facebook or Instagram if that's the place that you're selling. And they're going to extend that into Messenger and WhatsApp before the year is out. And that's really important from a kind of a stickiness point of view, because if a customer is talking to you on Facebook Messenger and asking you questions about a product or service, you're going to have the ability to sell that on the spot to them. And I think that's somewhere we're all pretty comfortable. It takes away the need for us to be technology experts. It's things that we're doing already, but it allows us to capture a sale at the point of intent where it's going to be really important for people as well. The digital shelf, I'm not going to get into too much, but effectively this is creating content for your products that can go into multiple places. So again, it's trying to do it at source, but allowing you to put product onto Instagram, for example, to gather ratings and reviews, to increase your assortment, to get onto more third-party sites if that's what it is you're looking. looking to do. But I just want to get into some best practice. And as I said, I don't know where you're all at, but these are just some examples of the positioning and what best practice means when it comes to things like product pages. So you can see here the multiple images on this one. I really like this, that you're standing over some marketing callouts that are about the processes that your business runs. So free delivery, free worldwide delivery, up to 50% off selected items. So that's an interesting merchandising piece of work. So if I was doing my analysis on this, I'd always be looking to see how many people click here and can I segment them. If you can figure out who those customers are that shop in this way, to come on, and this is how I shop on ASOS, for example. I'd always go to the kind of the bargain rail or the clearance section. I'd only ever be served ads or see emails that are relevant to the place that I'm shopping in, and that's really what you use the analytics to tell you on something like this. If Vinny always comes in and clicks on this link, why bother showing him anything else? The UK-based helpline. So again, they're obviously big on customer service here. They want people to be able to call them. And one of the reasons from dealing with this company is they can convert a lot of people on the phone. So they're able to guide them in terms of sizes, brands that they might have. And you can see here, it's not an inexpensive spend. It's a long sleeve polo shirt and it's £140. But all the time, the little signals that they're doing here and the little hooks are reinforcing. And these are the small details that sometimes we forget. The positioning of free delivery here, even though we've mentioned it up here, we have that it's in stock. I'm not a fan of having out of stock products up. I think it's a bad experience. But they have a product range that's very bespoke and narrow. So if this was out of stock, their customers would typically wait to get that. And that's why they've included that there. So they've got very simple things here like add to basket, pick my size. And this is a really nice feature that's becoming more and more relevant from an Irish perspective. So pay after 30 days. So there's a Swedish payment company called Klarna. They actually have an office in Dublin, and they're hoping to roll out this to Irish customers over the course of the year. But they have two really interesting concepts. And this first one is buy now and pay later. Very old retail methodology, but they've brought it in from a digital perspective. What they're actually doing is giving the money to the retailer in advance, and if the customer eventually comes back and returns it, they're taking the hit on it. The other thing that they're doing is, I'll show you here in live, we actually use them for our own products. It's splitting the payment over a number of months. So you can see here, this is a set of one person hammock tents. They're $500. That might not be in everyone's wallet when they want to buy it. But we use Klarna to do a split payment. So you can see here, I think that's over a 6-month period. It's $81 a month, but it's a really good converter for us. So we pay them a commission, I think, or sorry, it's probably not a commission, it's more of a fee. I think we pay about 5%. But what it guarantees us is we get that money up front, and the customer is able to convert much quicker than if they were not getting that option in there. So we use Klarna in the US, and we use a company called Splitit in the EU, and we're again on Shopify, but Shopify have announced their own product of that, which is much cheaper again by about 50%. So what you're seeing is that's becoming the norm for not even expensive purchases, but for anyone who wants to continue shopping with a brand, but maybe you don't have the money. It strikes me like the old catalog shopping. So you've 30 quid to spend a month or 40. What's that 1 or 2 products you're going to get to give you the combined 6-month total of 200 quid, and you get 3 or 4 items. And where I think that's an interesting concept is that we are entering quite an unusual phase or an unknown phase in terms of consumer spending over the next few months. So giving them flexibility in terms of payment is really, really important. And it's hard to underestimate just how important that will be for people in the next 6, 12, 18 months. But you can see here, it doesn't even look like it's a very prominent part of the page. Expect to see a lot more of that coming in over the next 6, 12, 18 months, as I said. Then we have cross-selling coming in here. So you bought this, you may also like these. And shop with confidence, see our reviews. And all the time, if you look at the language that they use, this is a company that knows its positioning really, really well. They use reinforcement propositions all of the time. Shop with confidence, the customer service number, free delivery. So all the reasons that I have to shop or maybe not shop are being eroded all the time. This is a company from Cork called Gym Plus Coffee. You may or may not know about them, but these guys do it really well. They've actually socialized their product, and they give away a pick of the week. And this is kind of what I mean about, you know, making a single product work for you over and over and over and over again. So they're using the same product they've had for 2 or 3 years, but they're announcing little competitions because these guys don't really do too much discounting. They want to expose product in different ways, and they know that their audience is outdoors by their nature anyway. So they're saying, look, send us a cool picture and we'll send you, I think they got a voucher for doing it. But the other side of this, it's not just about the competition, it's what we call social proofing. So if I see you wearing it and I think you're cool, or you're my friend, or you're in a cool picture, I'll associate with that, because that's the frame of mind I'm in when I look at Instagram and see pictures like this. So they've got a really good sense of who their customer is, and that translates into everything that they do on their site, and they're growing at quite a decent rate as well. But I just wanted to show you an Irish example of something like that. Ratings and reviews I've shown, and then this is about the value proposition that is outside of, you know, just discounting a product. And this may be where your business can be different to others, or maybe you can do some sort of local messaging with people going by the door, and you can send Facebook Messenger pings to people or something to that effect. You could put in same-day delivery as a hook for your business, and this is a core USP to Argos in the UK. Click and collect, so pay online or pick up in store, and they get a lot of after work business where someone needs something, to pick it up on the way to outdoor yoga or something, and they get yoga mats. I know that they're quite popular during the summer months for them. You can pay later with the Argos card, so for value customers, they can qualify for an Argos credit card, which means that they can pay after the purchase that they want to make. But this all goes down to giving the customer the end product, but by putting a business process or something in place to allow that to happen. See this free shipping and free returns on every order. This is a really interesting proposition, I think. So carefully curated, sustainably sourced from hundreds of local and independent producers. Say goodbye to mediocre food and drink. This is a really well-crafted message from a food delivery company here, just saying, we know the things that you care about are that this is a well thought out set of products for you, that it's sustainably sourced, that you don't want mass production, and they use the word local and independent. So all of a sudden I'm now feeling like I'm connecting to these guys, because maybe it's a neighbor up the road who's producing something, and I'm going to help out locally to get the product I want. So this is a really good reinforcing message, and I just wanted to show a couple of examples of what that looks like. And I'm just conscious now of time because we ran over it. We've about 4 or 5 minutes left. So I don't know if there's any questions, Niall, or what. And what I would like to say about the topic of e-commerce is that it's quite enormous, and it's very difficult to try and put it all into a kind of a 60-minute slide. And I think that's testament to the fact that the book that we wrote, the best practice guide, is 54,000 words. It's a couple of hundred pages long, and that's a shortened version of what was there last year. There was a 180-page version of the same. So I think as a topic, it's quite big. It can seem overwhelming, and that's why we put together the 9 P's proposition. It's to try and let you think about it in little interconnected pieces. So when you're making a decision on one, you kind of look at it from a rounded perspective. And I think from a kind of a business perspective, making those decisions are going to be easier if you use a framework such as the 9 Ps to help you think through some of the critical decision points that you may come to. But again, Niall, I'll come back to you now, because I don't know, there may be a couple of questions coming through, and apologies again for the blip in the middle.
No problem, that happens. Thank you, Vinny. Look, I have one question, but as I say to people, if you have a question, please type it into the question bar or put up your hand, and I'll let you in directly to talk to Vinny and ask him your question. First one that I have here, Vinny, is how customizable is the Shopify platform in terms of SEO?
They have a technical competence themselves. So Shopify is built technically to be SEO compliant. So you would expect that it's best in class. Even if you put up a new Shopify store today and you ran an audit on it, it's going to say it's about 80% right, because that type of SEO is an ongoing process. From a content creation point of view, if you're writing blogs or you're putting together kind of visual based SEO techniques, it's 100% customizable. They're getting even better, so you don't need to be a designer anymore. There's apps out there. One that springs to mind, it's called Pagefly, and it allows you to do a drag and drop style page builder, so you can create any type of content you want. It's all SEO proficient. All you need to do is make sure that you're sending a sitemap to Google and that it's being received on a daily basis, and that's a very simple plugin as well.
Okay, thank you, Vinny. We don't have any other questions, and there's nobody putting their hand up at the moment.
Okay.
I suppose we actually have one here now, Vinny. Sorry.
It's okay.
How does WooCommerce compare to Shopify?
The WooCommerce is good. It's about 10% globally of the e-commerce market. The way I compare them, you need to have a little bit more technical capability to run WooCommerce yourself. Shopify is an easier proposition from that point of view. I always find, and I've used WooCommerce for about 5 or 6 years now, sorry, maybe more, but I always find there's always a point at which I can't use WooCommerce. So Shopify is something I feel very comfortable with. You can put together stores in 2-3 days. I know the Lindt chocolate team in the US put together their entire business onto Shopify in a 3-day period during lockdown. So I suppose short answer is you have to be more technically capable to run WooCommerce. Shopify is a more user-friendly version, and most of the technology companies out there now, from a kind of a plugin point of view or kind of add-ons, are developing specifically for Shopify.
Next question: what is the average cost to build an e-commerce website?
What I'm seeing right now, so everyone knows it varies. I think that goes without saying. What we find right now, I think for a Shopify build, if you're going with an agency, you're going to see somewhere in the region of 15,000 to 20,000 euros. You can get them built if you outsource to smaller operations for anywhere from 5 to 10. But I think if you've got kind of business integrations like a point of sale, or you want to connect it to a stock management system or something like that, you will be looking to probably spend about the 15,000 to 20,000 mark. Even from a WooCommerce point of view, which I would have always thought was at the cheaper side of it, that's kind of coming in around the 20k mark right now. And if you look at the other end of the scale, so if there's kind of SME type companies on the call, or enterprise companies who are looking at something like Magento, you're probably not going to see much change out of 100 grand.
Okay, that's us, Vinny.
Great.
So I leave it to you to wrap up if you want, and maybe Paul might come back in before we say goodbye.
Yeah, look, I just like to say thank you again. I've over the last 6 weeks, I've done this particular set of slides over a 6-week period myself. I understand that there's so much in that it almost seems like you potentially don't take too much in, but by breaking it down into sections, we do kind of a few pieces together. It helps people, I think, digest it a little bit more. This has been delivered to nearly 500 companies over that time. In terms of the simplicity of it all, I think you have to start deciding, if you haven't done it already, where do you start, and start asking yourself some of the questions. I have a readiness questionnaire, Paul and Niall, that I'll send to you. And it just asks some questions of the business to kind of determine where you're at in your e-commerce journey. And even if you're already on one platform and looking to change to another, maybe it'll help you come up with some of those decisions. It's a blank questionnaire, it's an Excel file, but it asks some of the questions that will help you figure out what's the best place for your business to go. But look, thank you for the opportunity. I'll be rude and drop off, as I'm over to the Tralee Chamber now to have a weekly webinar with the local team here too. But thank you very much for inviting me along.
Thanks, Vinny.
Take care, everybody.
Thanks, Vinny. Thanks very much. That was fantastic. At least we know you're in the area if any of us need you. It's great to know. So thanks again for that. It was very interesting. Thanks.
Pleasure. Thanks so much, guys. Take care.
Okay. So I hope you all enjoyed the presentation and have been able to take some tips away for use in your business. Thanks for tuning in today. And remember, the presentation will be available on the Chamber's website, killarney.ie/resources. Next week, we will be joined by Moira Murrell, CEO, Kerry County Council, and Pat O'Leary, Chairman of Kerry Tourism Industry Federation. Moira and Pat will be discussing the COVID-19 situation in Kerry and the measures that each of their organisations have been taking to alleviate the fallout for the business community, tourism and society in general. I look forward to welcoming Moira and Pat next week, and I'm sure you will have lots of questions for them to address. Look forward to seeing you all next week at 11 a.m. Thanks and have a good week. Cheers.